as you just saw before, that was breakfast. So that was 1 espresso. You had some almond milk with some Honey Nut O cereal, and then I drizzled that with a bit of honey on top. That's my pre-workout meal, especially because I do all my workouts in the morning, whether I have 1 or 2. It doesn't, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. I always do at least something in the morning, so that's what I always have for breakfast before my workout. It's got enough carbs in it. 64 grams of carbs, about 7 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber, 30 grams of sugar, and 5 grams of fat. So it's definitely more based towards carbs and sugar, because I want fast digesting carbs, simple carbs, and simple sugars get through the body so that it can be used as ATP for my muscles before my workout. Today we've got an hour and a half bike ride. Okay, yeah, so we got a 15-minute warm-up with 4 30-second spin-ups, and then 7 sets of base threshold work for about 9.5 minutes, and then 30 seconds all-out sprint. That's repeated 7 times, and then a 5-minute cool down. That's what we got on the agenda for today. I'm gonna go through the rest of everything that I eat. So post-workout, breakfast, then we'll get into lunch, because I make my lunch at the same time, like just right after breakfast. And then I will show you what else I eat throughout the day, and then dinner. But that's all I have right now. I'm gonna get on the bike, gotta get going, and I will see you guys probably after I make my lunch. I will see you guys in a bit. it's the next day. And I'm just going to go over some of the key figures for my full day of eating, full day of nutrition. So let me just pull it up here. Breakfast. The first breakfast that I usually have was the espresso, unsweetened almond milk, basically a bowl of cereal. I used Cascadian Farms Honey Nut Oats, which is a whole wheat cereal, but I do space out the workouts between that breakfast and my workout. I space out enough time where I do a little bit of work in between, so that I have enough time to digest the whole wheat cereal. Because whole wheat cereal has more fiber in it, which means it takes a little bit longer to digest, but it is a more sustained form of energy. So that's why I do that. But I also throw in a bit of honey as well on top of the cereal, just for a little bit more sugar and a little bit more glucose to get into the muscles before my workout. And then I didn't include the intra-workout nutrition. I'm just gonna update that right now. I don't know what this thing is doing. Okay, so I had 2 precision hydration gels, or 1 chew, 1 gel, same macro and micronutrients in between the 2 of them. And then I had 44 grams of carbs, 22 grams of sugar in my Gatorade Endurance that I took. I didn't drink all of it, but I had most of it, but that was for intra-workout fuel. So that totaled up to 140, about 340 calories. And then we've got the post-workout meal, which was 226 grams of Chobani strawberry Greek yogurt, 40 grams of blueberries, a half a cup of granola from a Kind granola, and then I put in a little bit less than a tablespoon of semi-sweet chocolate morsels, just to curb a little bit of cravings. That's that, and that totaled up, okay, it won't show me because I grouped together the 2 different breakfasts, but in total, that entire breakfast was around 845 calories, and between the cereal and the yogurt, and then you include in an extra 340 on top of that. So the 840 plus, I think it was 340. Yeah, 1180 is what we're at total. And then lunch I make before. So that was 2 slices of Dave's Killer Bread. It's organic whole grain bread. That's 220 calories. The lettuce, I mean, it's like almost inconsequential. I mean, it totaled up to 7 calories. So, but that's just a good source of greens and vegetables for micronutrients. And then I had about 4 ounces of filet on the sandwich. I didn't measure it out on camera. I did before. I loaded that thing up. I put on a quarter of a tablespoon of mayonnaise. So that totaled up to 520 calories. That one's much higher in protein because of the steak. And I'll go through the macronutrients for the day total. So then we have snacks that I've had. I had, with lunch, I ate a protein bar that was 170 calories, and I had a banana as well that was 126 calories, and that's a good source of carbs and potassium. I then had a pre-workout meal of 1 medium-sized orange. I think it's like the Nivelle orange, if you're interested. And I also had a Cliff Bar, so that totaled up to 330 calories, excuse me. That's much higher in carbs, a little bit of protein, a little bit of sugar from the Nivelle orange. So it just gives you a nice all well-rounded balance of macronutrients and micronutrients. That was before my strength workout, which I didn't film. I was doing that with a buddy, so we did that. I think we did a upper body hypertrophy day. And then, let's see here, for dinner was around about 6 ounces of salmon. I had almost 3 ounces of broccoli, and then just about 5 ounces of pasta with it. So that totaled out to be 520 calories. So for the total for the day, 2,600 calories. A little bit on the lower side. I did burn in the morning 950 calories from the morning workout. So that, the morning ride, My calorie intake should have been around about 3,200, but sometimes you just can't stomach that much. It's a lot to stomach. You have to be able to process all that food. So it is kind of difficult to get in that amount of calories, that amount. So, it is what it is. It's not a huge deal, especially because I still felt great. I had a lot of energy. I felt really good. So I'm not entirely mad with that. Based on my basal metabolic rate, baseline amount of calories I should be having is probably even more than the average person. I do burn a lot more calories at rest than the average person because I'm so active. I forgot what the number was, but it's more than the baseline 2,000 that people usually burn by just living. And that is from picking up a remote, picking up my phone, typing, everything. That includes just daily living, 2,000 calories, not including the workouts. But we'll get into the macronutrient breakdown, and then I'll break down some of the micronutrients as well. So we've got total for the day, 161 grams of protein, 370 grams of carbs, 42 grams of fiber, and then fats, where did that go? There it is, 66 grams of fat. Pretty well rounded. I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, the carbs are going to be higher because as an endurance athlete, I need more carbs to fuel my workouts. So that's to be expected, especially with what I do with all my training. People like to say, focus on your protein intake, and I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But if you're an endurance athlete, please focus more on carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are going to be the key component to your training because you are not training for aesthetics at that point. Bodybuilders and power lifters and those kind of strength focused disciplines tend to focus more on protein, which is obvious. It's very simple because proteins help repair muscles, repair damaged muscle tissue to build it up to be even stronger. Makes sense, right? But with carbs are the body's number one source of energy for ATP, for the muscles. So you need to have a high intake of carbs to keep fueling your workouts. It's really that simple. I have seen people say that, oh no, you should be focused on your protein no matter what. Yes, focus on your protein, but focus on your carbs if you're an endurance athlete, because that is where you will get your energy from. It's really that simple. Focus on your intra-workout and pre-workout, really, for carbs. Post-workout, like I've said in another video, post-workout, you want to be focusing on more of the complex carbs. Intra-workout and pre-workout, you want to be focusing more on the simple carbs. But yeah, I'll also go through this as well because I feel like I ought to mention it. Sugar was at 180 grams. That is almost purely from the pre-workout and the honey, the fruits that I had, and the intra-workout nutrition. The intra-workout nutrition alone probably had around half of that value. So it probably had around 90 grams of sugar. And it's because it gets through the body quickly. It gets to the muscles quicker so that you're fueled and you're primed and ready to go for your workouts. It's really that simple, honestly. People really do overcomplicate it, myself included. I do overcomplicate it, but I'm trying to explain it in the simplest terms possible. But the other thing I do want to mention is a micronutrient, sodium. As an endurance athlete, you sweat a lot. That's just the nature of endurance sport. It just happens. You sweat a lot. If you put in a lot of effort, you're going to sweat a lot. So my sodium intake for yesterday, was 2,800 milligrams of sodium, which is 800 milligrams higher than the daily recommended value of 2,000. But as an endurance athlete, you're not just sitting around. You are sweating out a bunch of salt, and you need to replenish that back into the muscles. Otherwise, they're going to tighten up and you're going to cramp. So focus on your sodium intake. Forget the daily recommended value. Increase it above that, because as an endurance athlete, you're going to lose the salt in the form of sweat. You need to replenish that. In the muscles so that they don't cramp. It is that simple. For dinner with the salmon, I try to have that once a week. I like getting in my omega-3 fatty acids at least once a week. So I'll have fish usually on a Monday. That should be enough to get all of the omega-3 fatty acids that you really need for a week. Of course, I would recommend going a little bit more, having maybe 2 servings of fish per week, or some type of omega-3 fatty acids. But, my family doesn't like fish that much, specifically my parents. But my grandparents love fish, so I go up there and I have fish with them. So that's where I get my form of omega-3 fatty acids. I don't get it from here at my house, so you still get in the omega-3 fatty acids because that's another form of healthy fats that the body does need. Yeah, it's that simple. I mean, I'll go into another video again explaining more of the stuff that you're interested in depth. If you leave a comment down below, that would be greatly appreciated. But I know someone asked in the comments below for a full day of eating. There you go. That's all I have for today. I've dragged this on a little bit too long, but as I always say at the end of every video, train hard, train frequently, find results. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.